Welcome back to Rich Words Music, where today I am joined by an extremely exciting guest. It's Mr. Roman Belanoshko from Shnobel Tone. Welcome.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Well, thank you for stopping by. I mean, it's been quite a while since we've been trying to organize this chat, right? I mean, we talked at NAMM and we were trying to do something then, and then we had a couple of other ideas when we could do it, but life is busy, right? I mean, you've got a business to run, you've got a YouTube channel to run. It's hard to find time.
Yeah, but I'm glad we got this sorted out, and yeah, we're both on the opposite ends of the globe, but thanks to technology, we're able to talk and do this.
Yeah, exactly. It's nighttime where I am, early morning where you are, but it somehow works, so that's great. But yeah, for people watching this, I'm assuming if you watch my channel, you'll know Roman. He's one of the guitar gear OGs since I think about 2010. You've been making videos. I think at last count over 2,700 videos on your channel. So you've been there since pretty much day one. You've done it all. You've tried all the best gear and especially all of the best pedals that are out there. But you're also a pedal builder and a pedal modder. So you really know your gear from that perspective as well. And of course, you're a fantastic musician and artist in your own right as well. So I'm happy to have you here. Let's just put it that way.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a while. This journey I started, it's actually 2011. I started filming videos on YouTube and everything just kind of went from there. Yeah, was very privileged to try out a bunch of gear and to just kind of, that's my passion, to just dive into all the best gear. And then eventually I kind of started to modify some stuff myself and get into the pedal building, which is kind of my dream, to do my own thing and be my own boss. So yeah, I'm really happy and privileged to be doing that now.
Yeah, that's amazing. And we will come back to all of this stuff, but it's actually perfectly timed for us to have this chat right now, because at the time we're talking, literally a few days ago, you released the latest, greatest Shnobel Tone pedal. It's the Distortion. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that pedal?
Yeah, I have one right here, the Distortion. And it's a pedal that I've been thinking to make, and it's kind of a natural evolution to, like, in my mind, I have a product line. I have an Overdrive, I have a compressor, I have, a few kind of more higher gain pedals. Well, actually one, and then the Ratatouille, and then this one is a kind of a more oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, you did an amazing demo on it. And this Distortion is kind of an evolution of the Ratatouille in a way where it's got more controls. I think you can dial in slightly different sounds with it. Yeah, and so I'm really excited. And it's got the highest gain out of all my pedals. It can just go to 12, basically, on the distortion level.
Yeah.
The Ratatouille is more tamed, and this one's kind of more just crazier, like on the gain. You can really dime it.
Oh, wow. So there's more gain in this than there is in the Ratatouille.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's really interesting, because from the demo of yours that I watched, your playing is always incredibly tasteful. You're not thrashing all out like I am in some of my videos, for example. And, for everybody who knows Shnobel Tone, the Daily Driver is the classic. This is the one that I think you're rightfully the most well known for. But then there's also, for the distortion lovers, the Ratatouille. And I was kind of thinking, is the Distortion like the child of these two together, or is it somehow different? Is it similar circuit-wise? Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, the circuit is actually, the heart of it is the Daily Driver, the bass. And then I just gave it 200 times more gain and then different filtering. And then you have the toggle switch in the middle. So it is in an original circuit. People kind of asked me a little bit like, oh, what is it based on? And I just, say it's the evolution of the Daily Driver, which is the Ratatouille as well. It's a form of the Daily Driver circuit. So yeah, the DNA is the Daily Driver, and then everything else is kind of evolved from that.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. So if someone is new to Shnobel Tone and they're kind of looking for a sort of do-it-all drive pedal to start off with, would you recommend the Distortion, or is the Daily Driver still going to be that one that sort of covers every need?
Yeah, you have to look at like if you want lower gain stuff, lower to mid, and then I notice higher gain pedals, there's a little bit smaller kind of market for those, where not as many people utilize distortion. So I would say, yeah, the Daily Driver and the one with the boost especially, that one is probably like it's kind of a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
You can get some decent gain out of it too if you take the boost and put it before the Daily Driver and just push the volume into the Daily Driver circuit. So yeah, that I would say, yeah, that's my kind of number one pedal as well. It's really nice that people are appreciating the circuit, how open it is, because a lot of drives will compress, but you don't really notice it until you actually play a pedal that doesn't compress as much. So there's kind of cool videos out on the internet that other people are doing that comparing side by side, and it's really cool for me to see because I've been on the other side doing demos for a while and then seeing other people now demo my products. And some of the videos show nicely how open and uncompressed the Daily Driver is, and it can work really nicely with other drives, which is its strength as well. So it's a very versatile pedal.
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously, you just got yours recently, right?
I did yesterday. I opened it up yesterday, the Daily Driver Plus Boost. I've had a play yesterday and today, and it's a fantastic pedal, and it does have a bit more oomph in it, of course, with the added boost, but it's also got, I think, like you've said in other videos, there's a bit more headroom. So if you've got humbuckers like my Epiphone Les Paul, which I use for a lot of my humbucker demos, it's very high output. And with the original Daily Driver, it was kind of like getting sort of edge of breakup and lower gain drive sounds was possible, but it's even easier with the Daily Driver Plus Boost. You've tweaked the circuit, haven't you?
Yeah. For the Daily Driver Boost, yeah, I had some feedback from people that they weren't getting enough like unity gain output, meaning if they have hotter pickups, it would clip the Daily Driver too early and the volume was already maxed out, the output volume. So what I did is I gave it more output on the knob so people could run the gain lower on the dial, and so that would give them a true kind of like first stage overdrive. Because the Daily Driver circuit, it's like an amp. The gain all the way down, there's no signal. So then you turn it up and you start feeding signal into the circuit. And that's how this distortion is as well. Like you turn the gain all the way down, there's no signal, like an amp, you know, the gain. Yeah. So it truly kind of does react like an amp, and the higher you go, the more saturated and exciting, like the highs and lows just start to bloom out. That's what I love about the circuit. And it's actually a unique circuit, the Daily Driver circuit. I collaborated with a gentleman named George, and I met him like several years back, and he helped me put this circuit together, and it is a unique circuit, and it just has such a unique flavor to it. So I've been really just enjoying this circuit and giving it more gain and creating this distortion pedal, which won't compress and collapse like maybe other gain pedals. Yeah, and it will really kind of even at high gains, all the note articulations are there. So people just need to try it and for themselves. Yeah, well, I'm really looking forward to at some point trying the distortion as well. So hopefully one day, at the latest at NAMM next year, I will get to try it. So that's going to be pretty cool, I think. Yeah, and you're a high gain kind of guy, so I think you'll love this pedal. I think I'll really like it. I'm a huge Rat fan, so I loved the Ratatouille straight away, and I'm really interested to see kind of the differences in the dynamics and the tonal response with the distortion pedal. So yeah, really looking forward to trying it. When it comes to lower gain stuff with the distortion, though, where does it kind of fit compared to the Daily Driver? Let's say you've got the Daily Driver at like 3 o'clock, so almost dimed. Is the distortion kind of
when it's kind of at 10 o'clock or something similar, or can you compare them in that way?
You can get some drive sounds. The thing is, yeah, with this circuit is when you see, I tuned for it to sound its best, like kind of maybe 12 o'clock on the gain and beyond. But
Yeah.
below 12 o'clock, it's a softer sound, and you can get some kind of drivey sounds, but it might not have that like open kind of sound like the Daily Driver is tuned for those lower gain sounds and a very open sound and chimey. But I think once you get the pedal, you can try it for yourself, and it does have a really cool sound at the lower gain stuff. Kind of has a warmer sound, like a woolier sound, and then as you turn the gain, it kind of opens up and cranks the harmonics. Just everything goes up.
Yeah.
From there.
Yeah, it sounds really exciting. And with the Rat circuit and with the Ratatouille as well, I love kind of being at low gain sort of sounds and using it almost as a slightly dirty boost. It works really well. That's a great sound. So if you can get anywhere close with the distortion, I'll be really happy about that. Yeah.
Yeah. The Ratatouille has a lot of gain output on tap.
Yeah.
On the volume knob, and same thing with this. I had to pat it down. It was just so hot. I had to take it down because I'm like, people are just gonna blow up their amps or their amp simulators.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a massive advantage of the Ratatouille over, for example, the Proco Rat 2, which I always have to basically dime the volume on to get it just past unity gain on my clean channel. But with the Ratatouille, it's like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, it's already there. It's got everything I need and way more.
Yeah, I'm really glad you love that pedal.
It's an awesome pedal. I'm a simple man, so there you go. Yeah. With the distortion then, it's got a little switch in the middle, and I'm guessing that switch is going to be similar to the Daily Driver. You've got a high cut, 2 different high cut options.
Yeah, there's 3 different options. Similar, but with the way it's tuned, if you dip the highs and then boost it with the knob, you get a slightly different mid-range kind of upper mids. So you can, if your amp's a little nasally, you can dip it and then boost the highs to kind of dip that upper mid area a little bit. So it kind of works a little bit more than just a high cut in this pedal.
Okay, nice. And I guess last question about the distortion. If someone's wanting to play like, modern, maybe progressive metal, tight chugs and stuff like that, is the distortion going to be the right pedal for that? Or might you need to put a boost in front of it or something? Or how is it voiced for that kind of stuff?
Because I'm not that kind of a player. I'm more like just kind of strat and low gain stuff. But
yeah, I've never seen you chug, I got to admit. That's one thing I haven't seen you do so far.
And but yeah, I think this pedal can do some of that heavier stuff, the drop D and drop C and A, all those other things. Yeah, it has a very tight low end, and I think with the right amp, I think you can get some pretty good chug out of it.
Nice. Well, that sounds promising, and I hope that more people are going to get it, do demos with it, play it, so we can all hear it and really hear the versatility of the pedal. So that's the distortion. That's the current Shnobel Tone newbie. Check it out. Check out Roman's demo. I shall link to everything down there in the comments as well. But let's go back now. Let's go back to the start of the journey. I mean, everybody knows you from 2010 on with your Shnobel YouTube channel, but take me way back first. How did you first get into music and the guitar? Where did your journey begin?
So I was born in Ukraine, 1983, and growing up, it was a big family. My parents were conservative Christians, and they had 8 kids by 1991. And
wow, okay, big family.
Growing up in the Soviet Union, so Ukraine was still part of the Soviet Union back then. I was 8 years old in 1991, and early 92, we got the opportunity to move to the States, to America. And so we came here, and my mom's side of the family are very musical. They had a band. They used to play at weddings in Ukraine. And so growing up, our grandma would babysit us as kids, and we would play in their rehearsal room sometimes. And I still have kind of memories of like the old drum set that they had, and we would just kind of mess around on those. And I never liked school, so something with the strictness and with all the rules, and it just never sat with me. And even when I was a kid in daycare, I didn't want to go to nap in the daytime, and I was not obedient at all, and they like kicked me out. So I kind of always had this rebelliousness against the system from when I was young. And growing up, now in America, we kind of have a sort of combination of Ukrainian background and growing up in America. We started going to school here and kind of we moved to Portland, Oregon. That's where we were at first. And then we just now moved across the river north into the state of Washington. So that's where I am now. And growing up, we started experimenting with music. Just my dad bought me a guitar when I was like 15, and being in a bigger family, we kind of got my other siblings and the brothers into like music, and so we started having a little band, and we started playing, started recording, buying gear, and we eventually formed a band as well, and we started touring. So the band was called Sons of Day, and we did 2 album recordings, and we toured all over America, and we even had a chance to tour a little bit in Ukraine in 2008.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we kind of went back. That was the first time we went back, and it was just surreal. Like, we're like, wow, we remember this as kids, and I'm like, wow, everything looks so overgrown and small. And we did a lot of music, and I got into buying pedals and starting trying out all kinds of different overdrives, wah pedals, and I kind of stumbled onto the Pete Cornish stuff, which is really high-end pedals that are used by like John Mayer, David Gilmour, and I ordered my first Pete Cornish pedal was a Delay. It was a tape echo simulator, and the Delay was awesome, and I didn't see any demos of it on YouTube, for example, and so I was like, wow, okay, like there's a niche there, like it's missing, like some of these higher end pedals are not on YouTube. So I had a channel that was called Shnobel. It was just like opened, because you had to name a channel before you create it. And Shnobel is just like a slang word for somebody who has a big nose in the Russian Ukrainian language. And I just thought it was a funny word. Like, I'm like, Shnobel, let me make a channel, name it Shnobel. And I would promote our band's music videos on there. And then the channel kind of got monetized. It was random back then. It was like 2010. And that Shnobel channel was available for monetization. I could make money on, the ads. And I got an idea. I was like, well, why don't I put start putting demos on there and kind of start the journey? Because around that time was Andy Martin from Pro Guitar Shop.
Yeah.
And a few other people were kind of the demo guys. And so I'm like, I could start something myself as well. And so I started with my first one in November 2011. I put up the Pete Cornish Delay video, and then I got more Cornish pedals and then other pedals, and I just started my demo kind of thing on YouTube. And eventually I in 2015, I stumbled on a picture of a volume pedal that somebody photoshopped a tuner into the Ernie Ball volume pedal. And I was like, because I've demoed a lot of pedals, but I'm like, man, like I would love to like, be in this business, not just making videos, but actually like, working for myself. So I bought the two pedals and I'm like, there's got to be a way to put this together to make the volume and tuner pedal. And I did. I would get up super early, like 5 a.m. before my work, and I would be in the garage modifying, and I finally modified and made the first volume tuner pedal, and I made a video about it, and that kind of went semi-viral. Everybody was like, whoa, like this is amazing. And so that kind of kicked off my like pedal kind of building thing. I did the mods first. Yeah, it's very typical to get into modifying first. That's how like Robert Keeley, Josh Scott from JHS, it's an easy kind of foray to get into kind of modifying, and then eventually my goal was to create my own products instead of just taking other people's products. And so yeah, that and I met a gentleman, George, at a guitar show here in Washington, and he was very knowledgeable, and I was like, hey, like, I'd love to like start building my own pedals. And he's like, you know what, I got a circuit, that I could help you with. And so that's the rest is history. I debuted the pedal at the 2020 NAMM show, and that kicks off the Shnobel Tone line of pedals.
Wow. Well, it's crazy timing as well, 2020, I was there at NAMM 2020, and that was like a couple of weeks later, the world closed down, right? And in a way, I guess it was the perfect time to launch a pedal company, because the gear world really kicked off. Everybody was at home. People were buying guitars and pedals and stuff like that. So in a way, it was a nice time to do it, but also a strange time. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very interesting time. Yeah. And luckily I didn't have to shut anything down or do any kind of like stop production, because I work out of my garage. We're still a small operation. It's just me and my wife, and we have my cousin who came from Ukraine. She came about a year or so ago, and she actually soldered in Poland for a job. She soldered electronics, and I was like, hey, I need some help. So she comes in the evenings a couple times a week and helps me solder. So it's a very small operation. Yeah. And at first when I launched the pedal, it was a great response at NAMM. And I had kind of a waiting list of people who wanted to pre-order or get on the list to order. And then as the pandemic hit, the list just got smaller and smaller. And when I kind of launched it, I was like, where is everybody? But I think it was good. It gave me opportunity to kind of get used to building pedals, to work out, in any product, there's always those really early, like I tried out different foot switch manufacturers, and because the ones that I was using at the very beginning turned out to be very unreliable. So it was kind of a good thing that I didn't get swamped with orders like from day one, because I would have probably get really overwhelmed. But it kind of gave me a little bit of a slower start, and I kind of felt things out and figured out how to build this thing very reliably. And so it was good. I mean, and during the pandemic and during lockdowns, a lot of people bought gear, but it was a lot of the well-known gear manufacturers, like guitars, like Fender, Gibsons, and other Boss pedals, and Klons shot up in price, and I was just starting out, and so I was kind of, at times I would get a little discouraged. I was like, oh my gosh, like why did this have to happen now? but it worked out. Yeah, we as day by day, and we started promoting, and just and people like you demoing the pedals and showing them off on YouTube helps. Every little bit helps to spread the word, and to get the word out there about the pedals.
Yeah. When it comes to the building the pedals, you said that you started modding the volume pedal and the tuner together. Did you have a background at all in electronics or, soldering, stuff like that? Or were you totally coming cold turkey into that part of the world?
I didn't have any kind of electronic knowledge or experience. I soldered my own cables, so I wasn't new to soldering. Soldering was something I did. But I had to kind of learn. The nice thing now is that with the internet, you can reach out, you can hire people to help you design the circuit board or layout of the PCB. And that's what I did. I had some people help me lay out the board. So then when I get them made, I get the boards and I, populate them with through-hole components. And yeah, just kind of getting the production set up, buying the little frame that I could do multiple boards at once. So that was kind of something, I had to figure out a little bit. And I'm still learning. And that's what I love about this, what I'm doing is I know that like I have a lot of ideas, but I don't know the technical way to get there. But I have like people that I can reach out to for help, and it's really exciting because I always learn something. Almost every day I'm learning, and there's stuff online too about circuit boards and all kinds of things that people do, and there's a lot of smart people out there, and I'm excited to. One of my kind of biggest projects that I want to do is like a delay pedal, an analog delay pedal.
Oh yeah.
Because some people online, I was reading on the gear page, they're like, how does Shnobel not have a delay pedal? Because delay effect is one of my favorites, and a lot of people really like how I demo them on my channel, and I love that effect. It's my favorite. And so like a delay pedal, it's a pretty big feat. Like, I don't know, I'd have to do a lot of research, and I want it to be analog, and I want it to be the best delay out there. And so it's going to be a big project. So I need to get a lot of help with just the layout and everything to make it right, to make sure it's the best delay in the world. I can totally imagine that would be a huge project compared to an overdrive pedal. And if I know you correctly, I'm guessing that something like the TC Alter Ego, what you're often playing in your videos, you're going to be aiming for something of that quality and maybe that variety as well. So that is a lot of stuff to pack into a pedal. Yeah. So I have ideas, but when I'll actually start working on it, maybe, things will change around, but, and maybe I want to have a tap tempo feature. And so, I think, it will be a really cool product. That's the thing that keeps me going, is all these ideas that I have that I'm like, it's possible. I just need to make it happen.
Yeah. You just talked about creating a delay pedal in future. In say 5 or 10 years time, if everything works out the way you want it, how big could the Shnobel range become? Could there be different delay pedals? Could there be reverbs? Could there be other effects that you don't have, like tremolos and phasers and flanges and stuff like that? Or do you want to keep it simple?
It's hard to say, because 5 years ago, I didn't even know that the lineup would be this big, because of my, I just got into it. But I know there's, a lot of effects, like tremolo, like the staples, like chorus, tremolo, flanger, phaser. I feel like that, I don't want to say like I will never do something. I think that I want to do effects that I'm excited about. I know people have asked me like, modulation's really popular right now. Like some of the stores that sell my products. They're like, hey, if you make a modulation or some chorus or some kind of, it's a thing that's in right now. And I would love to make a good chorus, but I feel like that I'm going to get there, I guess. It's hard to say, like, I don't want to say like what I won't or will do, but I have ideas, but there's still so much work to do in the drive and distortion section. I have a pretty good range now, but there's kind of even more things that you could do, like a preamp and kind of just a few variations of dirt stuff that's still that I can do. And it's a little bit easier, I would say. So it's something that's a little bit more feasible for me right now. But the delay is, that's a big project, and I'm already kind of like thinking about it sometimes. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, can I pull this off? So, but reverbs, definitely there's ideas, but I feel like because it's digital, I gotta get other, there's amp simulators and stuff too that I feel like can be done in a very interesting way, non-digitally. But again, that's also another project for maybe down the road. I want to build great pedals. So if I can make an amazing chorus or amazing tremolo pedal, I'm all for that. I think it's just kind of, it evolves naturally as it goes. But when I have a successful launch and like the Daily Driver Boost pedal, I launched at the NAMM show, and then I was still kind of working out the PC boards and how to build it. And so that kind of set me back a bit, and we're still not like caught up. Like we still have a little build time. Like I don't have an inventory going. So it's a little harder and harder as you get more products. And I really probably need to expand the team and get more people involved. But I'm still I love that I get to build every pedal. I'm testing each one. I QC each one. I love that part about it. Like the corporate world, like kind of just selling your brand and having them made in China, just doesn't really appeal to me. Again, I don't want to say I'll never do something, but I love the people that do the smaller builds, like Pete Cornish. I love that he still puts the pedals together and signs off on them, and they're a little bit more money, but I just feel like that it's like one guy behind the product. And so I'm kind of like that. I know there's more efficient ways to do things. There's surface mount. You can just get them printed in overseas, and then you just put them into the box like a lot of other people do. I don't know, but I'm just still stuck in the, like, I kind of still want to control like all the components that go onto the board.
But that's also, I think that's one of the beauties of the modern day market, and the fact that the internet has given people like you a global platform to sell your high quality products. If there is someone out there who wants to buy, a $30 or a €30 Overdrive pedal, which is probably going to be a clone of a more famous pedal, a Tube Screamer circuit or something like that, they can do that. But then at the other end, there's American built stuff, Overdrive pedals that you can get for maybe $100, $150 or a bit more, and you can gradually get down to the smaller companies. And because of the internet and because of the power of, for example, your YouTube channel, it makes it accessible to everybody. And there is going to be a market for people who want to buy the products that you personally have made by hand because they love that about it,
Yeah, that's the amazing thing. Yeah, that people still like. I mean, maybe to a lot of people, maybe it doesn't really matter if they like the sound, and if the pedal's reliable, they'll play through it. But yeah, a lot of people maybe don't realize how small of an operation it is. It's just me, my wife, and she will answer emails, and she'll really help me out with the shipping and with the scheduling. Like this podcast, she was just reminding me like, hey, you got a podcast at this time. I'm like, okay. So it's great. So it's just still out of my garage, and I record videos here. I build stuff here. I kind of have some music stuff here, and it gets a little crowded. And but I'm try to make it work. And then eventually, yeah, I'll probably move out into a little space, but we'll see. Maybe that's in like the near future.
Yeah, sure. Talking about different pedals and what might come in the future, we talked about different kinds of effects, but are there maybe any artists out there who you'd love to build like a signature pedal for? Any dreams that you've got in that sort of direction?
I would love to work with, obviously, like, who are the great guitarists nowadays? It's, I guess there's, I was a big fan of Jeff Beck. He was such a tasteful player, and he passed, and but he was more like an amp kind of guy. I think he used a Klon here and there, but people like John Mayer, he's a very modern guitar player that probably is going to be remembered as one of the guys that influenced the guitar world in some way. And but being a smaller brand, it's I don't know if I have the kind of pull to be like, hey man, you want to make a pedal? But yeah, it would be cool to do something with John, or with any of the like great, all those classic, guys like, Joe Perry, or Steve Lukather, or just these, or some of these like Michael Landau, or what's his name, Robin Ford or something. But again, it's a matter of time, maybe, if they ever come across any of my products and they appreciate like the tone and the quality and the sound. I would be very happy. I did one signature pedal with a guy named Frank Symes.
Yeah.
So he was not a very popular session player, but he did play with Don Henley from the Eagles. He was his guitar player for a bit, and he wrote some songs with him, and he did some touring with him, and he lives in LA, and we connected a couple years ago, and he's like, it'd be awesome to do my signature pedal. And so I took obviously a variation of the Daily Driver. We kind of tuned it up in a way that he liked it. And but as far as sales, it didn't like sell too much, but it kind of was cool. It gave me a little experience of like how it's like working with an artist. So that was great. It was a great experience. And I am kind of talking to a few guys in like the praise and worship to do kind of like some kind of a drive signature pedal. We'll see if that turns into anything. But yeah, I feel like I'm such a small guy that like it's a little bit of a stretch to kind of get like a big artist to work, to do something signature. But I don't want to limit myself down the road. I think, anything is possible.
Yeah, you never know. I always remember reading the story of Brian Wampler, how he took one of his pedals down to a Brad Paisley gig. I think he literally passed the pedal to Brad Paisley's roadie or something, or even put it on the front of the stage. Brad Paisley ended up testing it out, and it became the Paisley Drive at some point. So you never know. Start going to concerts, go to John Mayer, start throwing 3 pedals around, and at some point, the Shnobel Maya might become a reality.
Yeah, there's different ways to achieve. So, yeah, if there's a will, there's a way, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I guess the other direction is kind of the online direction, YouTube guitar players. Would you ever consider doing something with someone who's become more known through the online platforms? Or are you more about old school live tours, in-person gigs and stuff like that?
I wouldn't be opposed, if it's somebody that's genuinely like passionate, and just if they love what I'm doing and they're like, hey, like I have this idea, or, oh yeah, I mean, I don't want to limit myself to just like, guitar players. I mean, yeah, that's the beauty about, being a smaller, builder, is that I'm very flexible. Like,
Yeah.
I'll even, I still do the volume tuner modifications on the Ernie balls, and on the Dunlop pedals as well. And so sometimes people will ask like, hey, can you like put the switch there and there? And like, I'm like, yeah, I look and if it's possible. So I'm very flexible. And I think, like if somebody approached me about an idea and I would, I wouldn't turn it down. If it's a good idea and I'm able to do it, I would be totally down for that.
Yeah, sure. Interesting. When it comes to other YouTubers and stuff like that, are you someone who spends a lot of time watching other guitar-based YouTubers? Or are you kind of, when you're not working, you're steering clear of this kind of thing?
Oh, I have an iPad on my station where I solder and I work. And so I do, I will watch some guys like that pedal show. They have a great array of musicians that come through, and
Yeah.
it's always interesting to see like what people are doing, and a lot of times, yeah, they'll show the latest stuff from other guitar pedal manufacturers, and just all the other guys, and the guitar news, the pedal news of what's happening in the world of guitar. I'll check in on those kind of channels and stuff, and some of the drama that happens.
Yeah.
So I check in on that. And then Andertons is a great channel as well. And speaking of Andertons, they are carrying my pedals now too, which is really awesome that my pedals are available in the UK, and they did a pretty awesome video showcasing kind of almost all of the pedals and how they sound, and how they what kind of sounds you can get out of them. And the guys seem to like the pedals, so that's a really good plus.
Yeah, that was a great video. That was this year, wasn't it? When they took your pedals on.
Yeah, that was not too long ago. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it was the Captain and Pete, and they went through everything. I watched that video. It was really good, and I think I've watched so many Andertons videos at this point. I've been watching them for years, and because I work in the industry as well, I've been at various companies where they've done our products and stuff like that. I kind of feel like I know when they like something, as in they really like something. And I felt like with the Shnobel stuff, they were having a really genuinely good time. So that's good.
Wow, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I saw that too, and yeah, I'm biased. I want them to like my stuff.
Yeah.
But they were just like, oh, whoa. I was like, awesome. They're just like, do you hear that? And the volume's not even all the way up. They were just cranking. They're just like, oh, let's turn the amp, in gain mode. And that was exciting. Yeah, and I kind of took clips and shared it on my social media. But yeah, it's just, I get such joy like watching somebody, playing through what I've created, and just for them to just put a smile on their face of like, oh, how good it sounds. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's it's such a good feeling to know that, I'm on the right path.
Yeah.
Because when designing and kind of dialing in a pedal, I like second guess myself like so many times. I'm like, oh, like, okay, well, let me check it through the Vox. Okay, what about through the Marshall? Like making sure that the mid-range, or, because guitar is, it's a lot of mid-range, and getting it right is, I don't know. I feel like it's such a fine, it's like a knife edge, you gotta get it right, because if you don't, somebody plugs it in and hears, and it's like, if the frequencies are kind of, the first impressions are not that great, it kind of, it doesn't, help, you know. So
Yeah.
when people plug something in and they can, with a few turns, they can dial in a great sound. That's when, you know, like, so that was my goal with all my products is somebody gets my pedal. They can kind of get to their sound, you know, pretty relatively quickly. You know, you don't need to like do extreme settings to make sure it works in the rig.
Yeah, I think that's something I've seen you saying in another video, like with the Ratatouille, for example. Start with everything at 12 o'clock and you're already going to have a pretty great tone, and you just need to tweak things a little bit from there. You don't need to be doing anything crazy to get great tones. It's super simple to dial in.
Yeah. And there was another video of a daily driver, and they were comparing it to other pedals on a YouTube channel, and they're like, okay, let's start at 12 o'clock. And, you know, they turn it on and the daily driver just like, it just has a good sound. And I'm like, that's I work so hard for that, you know, so that it's not like, oh, what's that sound? Okay. All right. Yeah. You got to tweak it and, you know, get this out and, you know, but that comes kind of, I guess, from experience and my kind of OCD. Like, I feel like, yeah, all the pedals that I've tested, and, you know, I have developed my ear a lot more now, more than ever. And yeah, when it's like you plug in a pedal and you turn it on and it's like your first impression, you know, with relatively, you know, normal settings, and it's like, is it got too much bass? Is it flubby? Is it like that? The first thing is very important. It's like, ooh, like, okay, like, yeah, this, you know, it's got to be tweaked a lot and try to make it work. But, you know, having a pedal that's like already kind of like, oh, okay, that's, you know, I see where we're going. So that's important to me. Yeah.
Yeah. We're seeing a lot of pedal companies collaborating at the moment. Are there any companies you could imagine working together with to create like a dual pedal or something like that?
I'm not opposed to collaborating. Nobody's really approached me yet. So maybe when my status gets up, I don't know, because I'm not like a big engineer, electrical engineer. So if I collaborate, they're gonna have to do most of the work, and I would just be like, you know, do this and that. I mean, we'll see. You never know. There might be a collab. I'm always open for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure. So what would your advice be to someone who is kind of out there playing guitar? They're sort of inspired by what you've done, and they're interested to start maybe doing their own mods or maybe even building their own pedals. Where would you tell them to begin?
Oh, I mean, that's a little bit of a harder question, but it depends on the individual. So if somebody's really inclined to like start building, and there's a lot of resources online. There's even kits that you can buy where it comes with the circuit board and with all the parts, and, you know, there's like a fuzz face. There's just a lot of companies now selling these kits, and so getting a kit and just starting to put one together as the instructions say, that would be a good start. And then, you know, having probably your first pedal that works that you built, it's a good feeling. It's like, woo. And then get another kit and then start messing around with the components, just hearing what, you know, change a resistor to a different value, see what it's doing. Like, is it giving you more bass or mid-range or cutting the lows or highs? And then just, you never know. That's the thing, you start experimenting and, okay, this is what that's doing. Because that's how I took, you know, some circuits and like, or just a regular buffer circuit, you know, and then you just start messing around. You're like, well, how can I get it really close to my amp sound, like that kind of responds in the top end as well? And so that became my little buffer pedal. It's a very simple circuit, but it's an important circuit. And so, yeah, there's a lot of great stuff online that just get a soldering iron off Amazon or something, some solder, and people online is definitely a big community and DIY stuff. And so I recommend people getting into that first and then going from there.
Yeah, sure. And talking about simple stuff, fuzz pedals are very simple. If I'm correct, there aren't any Shnobel Tone fuzz pedals at the moment. Could that be an area where you might go in future?
I actually have thought about it. Yeah, I do actually have, now that you remind me. I gotta write out all these things because a lot of times they're in my head. There is a big muff from like 78 that I have two big muffs from 78, and they're like, the circuit boards are like a transition circuit in both of them. They're from the same year, but one sounds a little different than another. And that's something that I was looking for too. I used to have a 78 Big Muff and I sold it. But then I was always like, oh, I missed that sound because we did a lot of recordings. I'd run it on bass. I'd just use it for everything almost. And I'm like, and I kept buying 78 Big Muffs and they're not it. I'm like, that doesn't have that mid-range. And then I got one and I was like, that's it. So I look inside and I'm like, oh, it's a different transition circuit board. So maybe, but with a Vox, it's a little fizzy, I gotta say. But with a Marshall, it's perfect. So I'm thinking maybe I could take like that Big Muff circuit and also be able to make it work with a Vox and just kind of maybe tweak a few other things and make it my fuzz pedal maybe. So that's yeah, I have thought about it, you know, and just the name, just fuzz. That's it.
That would be it. That would
3
work.
knobs, you know, and a fuzz.
Yeah, you don't need more. And I think, you know, we've seen recently that fuzz has become a thing again, and there are companies like JHS doing their, is it the Legends of Fuzz series, where they have, I think, 8 or 9 different classic circuits. I think there's a Big Muff in there as well, and it's just sort of recreations with slight twists on these old classic circuits, and people love them. And people do say there is magic in these old circuits. The same with earlier Rats, for example. And again, I know that are you an 86 Rat fan, maybe?
Yeah, I have an 85 wide
85.
face and an 86. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're internally the same, I think. Yeah. They're classics for a reason. You know, a lot of people, because like the Klon, for example, like there's a lot of love and hate towards it, like the originals, because how expensive they are. But there's something to it, you know. Why does John Mayer and why did Jeff Beck use it? You know, it's like you can hate it, but you have to respect it too, because it is popular for a reason. And I know things get overhyped and overblown, but like a Big Muff, you know, David Gilmour, I mean, there is a sound there, and it's you got to respect that and that circuit. And so yeah, you know, those kind of classic, like the old Rats, there is a sound there too. But you know, as time goes on, we want to create new stuff. And you know, I have an 85 and 86 Rat, but like I wanted something, you know, in a different flavor, so I made the Ratatouille. I mean, I didn't want to clone the Rat, but a lot of times people think the Ratatouille is a clone. And even on Andertons demo, they're like, oh, yeah, this is like a Rat, you know. And a lot of people are like, that much for a Rat? I can buy a Rat, you know. It's like, it's not a Rat circuit. But it's hard for people to get over that. Like, it kind of looks like a Rat. The name implies Ratatouille, you know, Rat. So now I have the Distortion, and I don't think it's going to confuse anybody. I think you can kind of dial in some Rat sounds with like the Ratatouille sounds, but it can do a lot more. So
yeah, well, with the Ratatouille as well, it can do the Rat sound perfectly, but it can do a lot more as well that a Rat pedal doesn't do. So that's where it's original for me.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you because you have the pedal and you can actually like understand that and when you play. So
Yeah, and I said that in my video, and I talked in depth about it with a good friend of mine, Eirik, from Living Room Gear Demos, who I think you also know very well. And he's done some great videos with some of your products in the past. And yeah, he loves it. So there you
That's
go.
awesome.
He knows what he's talking about. So we'll take his word for it.
Awesome. Yeah, and I gotta get you this distortion pedal as well, because I loved your Rat demo, because the amps you were using and the guitars, it's just that mid range was just like exactly what I was trying to achieve with the Ratatouille, and I think you'll have a great time with the distortion as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to trying it. So excited.
Awesome.
Yeah. So when it comes to pedals which are not yours, what are your favorites? We've talked about the vintage Big Muffs and Rats, but if you were building a pedal board of pedals which couldn't include yours, what are you going to put on it? Yeah.
Okay, so if it wasn't my pedals, for drives, I probably the closest is like the King of Tone from Analog Man. I'd probably put a Klon on there, and a Rat, 85, 86 Rat. So yeah, I would kind of build my drive like Klon, maybe very first gain stage, then go into the King of Tone.
Yeah.
And then into the Rat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Fuzz, yeah, Big Muff. I don't know, I'm just kind of a very classic staple kind of guy. And yeah, Big Muff for like the Fuzz stuff, and then Delay, probably Memory Man, the big box Memory Man Delay, and maybe an Alter Ego.
Yeah.
The TC Electronic, the Memory Man for the analog, Alter Ego for the digital and tape kind of emulated stuff.
Yeah.
And reverb, I would use probably like a Strymon, like a Big Sky, just kind of have a few presets there, more like a shorter kind of a springy or like a plate kind of reverb, and then kind of really long for like spacious and ambient stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, with that
and
board.
Wah pedal and in front of everything in the beginning.
Yeah, that covers everything. Yeah, very classic, but also very modern sounding board. Yeah, I like it. But yeah, boxes like the Big Sky, they're these huge digital packages that can cover everything. And I think as guitar players, everybody I know is accepting of digital effects when it comes to time-based stuff and modulation. But where a lot of players have problems is with digital drive pedals. And I know you don't have any digital drive pedals in your current operation, but is that something you like, or do you prefer to keep it strictly analog for those sorts of tones?
Yeah, I would say like I play once in a while at a local church here and on the worship team, and they have like a Boss GT 100 or something. It's a little multi-effects. And I've dialed in some decent sounds on it, and in the mix it works. It's good. I have like a few patches there, but the analog and the pedals, it's just obviously it's less convenient, but it's so much more fun. Like if I was just to like, what's the easiest way to play somewhere and carry the least amount of gear? Yeah, a digital little board or something digital without an amp. It's the most, you can probably play through your phone now. You have apps, but then you think about like, well, how far are we going to get? Like where we're literally not even going to play the guitar. It's going to play for us. I mean, again, it's just going way out there, but I think, the amps and the pedals, it's more pure. It's more inconvenient, but it's more fun. It's like, I guess, yeah, like when you do have the luxury of analog pedals, and you go digital, yeah, it's like, certain effects like fuzzes and stuff. It doesn't sound or feel the same, but it's passable. And so digital, it's great, but I mean, we still can have fun with amps and analog. And I guess it's a mix of being a gearhead kind of, and speaking of digital, there's a company that created a digital version of the Daily Driver.
Oh yeah.
Yes, Chaos Audio. It's a company out of Florida, and they have kind of like a digital pedal that you can control from your app, and you can load all the sounds, kind of like a very mini, like a Eventide H9.
Okay.
It's not as fancy. It's a mono, but they've created the digital version of my Daily Driver, and I would say like 90%. I mean, depends where the gain is. If it's cranked all the way, it gets a little different sounding, but like with the gain not all the way, because that's where like the digital model cannot like recreate some of the harmonics, and like when the pedal is distorting in itself, the math is totally different. So, but they modeled it, they took the schematics and they put it into a digital form, and I was surprised. I was like, I even preferred, because it had a bit of a sweeter mid-range. so that digital pedal, I would A/B, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, it's not like 100% exact, but it's so close, and it's so usable, and I'm like, wow, like, I can definitely sign off on this. And so, they're selling it on their platform. People can download it, and it sounds really good. Like I said, like throughout most of the gain range, it sounds great. And the Daily Driver, you don't use it in the max gain all the way all the time. So most people use it somewhere in the lower to mid gain range. So digital has come a long way, and it's very convenient. And I would say, yeah, like whatever helps your creativity. Like when I'm doing like little ideas for songs or whatever on my computer late at night, I'll play through like a pod, into the computer. I don't need to fire up my amps, but I have the amps. They're fun. You turn them on, and the drives and fuzzes, just they sound a certain way through these amps, and I'm not ready to give that up yet, because digital is great, but it's an additional tool because everything digital and all the classic stuff, it's like, oh, this is a digital version of a Fender Twin, Fender Deluxe. Oh, here's a digital version of a Vox AC30. So everything digital is still like relying heavily on the original pieces of gear that, made guitar what it is now. And obviously in the future, there're going to be new stuff that we can't create in the analog. But I love that we still have these old amps that we can be like, digital is getting better, but we still have like the original reference. Like, here's a real tube amp, plug it in. Oh, that sounds so good. Okay. Like, we can improve our digital stuff still. But yeah, I don't really have super strong opinions on like, I'm like, I hate digital. It's a good tool. And obviously with the modern day, there's so much convenience with digital. But I still, like, as a diehard gear guy, I love the analog and the tube stuff, and I love some of the classic stuff that made guitar great and made it what it is today.
Yeah, I respect that 100%. I think I'm coming from the same place as you. I've recently discovered the Tone X. I don't know if you've tried the Tone X stuff, but some of the models you can get for that are fantastic, and they feel right as well. It took me a long time to find digital stuff that felt right under my fingers and kind of with the dynamics and stuff, but this feels great. But I've also made videos about it, comparing some of the pedal models against some of my pedals, my Rat, my Tube Screamer, my Gria Lightspeed, and so on. And I said a couple of lines that you also said exactly, that digital is way more kind of practical these days. You can take a tiny box and your whole rig is in it. But in some ways, it's not as fun. When you've got an analog board with analog drives and you can twist the knobs and see how they work against and with one another and how they react differently to different amplifiers and stuff like that, it's just a different experience. So it's nice to hear you have the same opinion about that stuff. The analog world is not dead yet.
Yeah, that's true. It's not dead, and it's still fun. And I think, there's still people that if you were not in this music business for convenience or to make lots of money, I mean, maybe some people are, but it's like, if you're about convenience, and it's like, don't be a musician. That's the opposite of convenient. You're loud, you're annoying. You spend all your money on gear. Like, I mean, that's if you want to be a good, efficient person, or save all your money and be polite, not be loud and disturbing, don't be a musician. I think there's a certain appeal to that. I think there's a kind of a certain rebelness to being a musician, or especially a guitarist. You're loud, you got an attitude.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of money on gear, but it's it's fun. It's the passion that you have, and I think that I'm probably in that category. I'm still not giving up on that old school kind of rock and roll dream.
Yeah, and you were in a successful touring band as well, and it's when you're in a band, you have that feeling of it's us against the world, right?
Oh yeah. And making it work, and just the creativity, expressing your creativity is it's amazing that you have an idea, and then you can have some lyrics and an emotion, and you can actually kind of channel that through your music, and have other people gotta get a sense of some of that, what's in your head, and getting that across to other people with music it's a very powerful thing. Yeah.
Do you personally think there's going to be any future for you also touring with the band, with Sons of Day, or as yourself, or doing originals or anything like that? Is that in the pipeline?
I'm still creatively active, and I'm actually producing some music as well for other people.
Okay.
One of my cousins, she came from Ukraine, and she's a great singer, and I actually started writing some songs with her, and it's going pretty well. She's really excited about, we might release a couple of songs here soon, and I still here and there write some music, because I did write a lot of music for our band. Even though I wasn't the lead singer, but I did a lot of writing. And so that creative kind of thing I'm still doing it. So you never know. I mean, I still have ideas and aspirations to go out and play. And so, that's all possible in the near future.
Yeah. Nice. Well, be sure to check out the links just in case any tours are coming up. Check out Shnobel's website, and you never know. If you are going to be playing live in future, and you've got one guitar, one amp, and a couple of pedals that you can take on the road, what's that rig going to be?
Ooh, one guitar, one pedal, or?
One guitar, one amp. I'll give you 3 pedals.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it'd probably be my Fender Strat, the guitar, the Eric Johnson one. My red one.
Yeah.
The one that I've used for a long time.
Yeah.
The one that the frets are starting to wear out. So I'll have that guitar, first pedal, daily driver, boost. Maybe my horsepower pedal. It's kind of a clonish sort of pedal. And then probably the distortion pedal. Oh, I didn't add any reverb or delay.
Nope.
Oh, man. You know what? Let's take that back. Daily driver boost, Let's do the Alter Ego Delay, the X4 one with 3 presets, and then Big Sky reverb.
Yeah. Okay. And you're running into a box, I guess.
At my 64, or I have a 64 Vox AC30.
Yeah.
That's pretty much, that would be my rig.
Yeah, that's a pretty sweet rig. And I think you can cover pretty much anything with that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Push the front end of this Vox to go into fuzz territory.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess that leads quite nicely into the last question that I always ask everybody. You're going to be playing a gig with that setup, maybe with other pedals, that doesn't matter. And you're asked to put together a band to play a 1 hour set. You're going to be maybe playing guitar or bass, you can choose, but probably you're going to be playing guitar, maybe singing as well. But who else are you going to choose to be in that band? You can pick any bass player, any drummer, any singer, any keyboard player, any brass section, living or dead. Tell me who your dream band would be and tell me what songs you're going to play.
Oh, it's just, I never thought about it like that.
I know it's a really dumb question to ask people spontaneously, because it's like you could spend so many hours thinking about answers to that question.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably put Jeff Beck on guitar. I would be on bass, because I play bass too.
Yeah.
I would let Jeff lead the way. I'd put Phil Collins on the drums.
Yeah.
It's just like a wild, like, I don't know if it would make even sense, but yeah, I would play bass. I have a 8x10 Ampeg stack.
Yeah.
I would be on bass with a Fender Jazz bass. Got Jeff Beck and Phil Collins on drums. And then we could just put somebody on keyboard. Who's I don't know his name, but he played in Toto. I mean, there was a African American guy. He took over. He played with like Michael Jackson and stuff. Forget his name. But he's a great keyboard player. I'd put him on keys, and then there's have to be a singer. You know what? I'd put David
unless
Gilmour.
you want to play instrumental rock, it should have a singer probably. Yeah.
I'd put David Gilmour as a singer.
Oh yeah, okay.
It's kind of a strange band. Okay, a little bit of a British vibe to it.
Well, yeah, him and Phil Collins together on the vocals. It could be interesting. Yeah.
And and it's just Gilmour on vocals, and I don't know, just doing the classics. In the Air Tonight, and some of the other maybe Pink Floyd classics. So.
Yeah, some prog rock classics I think would work out quite nicely with that band.
Yeah, and some Jeff stuff in there.
Yeah, that's a really interesting selection of musicians, and I would pay to watch that concert, I think. So
I'd play one song on bass, and then I get like Roger Waters up.
Yeah, okay. Reunite the Pink Floyd, yeah,
not tell him who's playing, just kind of be like, hey, can you fill in on bass, a couple songs?
Yeah. Just have a wall
something
between
like
them.
That, yeah.
Yeah, that would work. That would be nice.
Yeah, just like a classic rendition of some of the 80s music.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, listen, Roman, thank you so much for taking the time to answer my silly questions, but also the important questions about the gear and about the Shnobel Tone stuff. I hope, if you're watching this, if you're still here, that everything that you wanted to know has been answered. But if there's anything else that you'd like to know, shoot me a message down there in the comments. Shoot Roman a message on his website or on his socials, and I'm sure that we'll be able to answer you to the best of our ability. I will link to Roman and to Shnobel Tone down there as well, so go and check out all of his pedals, check out all the demos and the videos online. And do you want to have the last word? Anything else you'd like to say to sort of play us out?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here on this podcast, and for me to share some of my information about what I'm doing and the products that I make. And if you guys want to check them out, yeah, I got a website, all the socials, just Shnobel Tone on Instagram, Facebook. Yeah, thank you so much, Rich. It was really fun talking with you, and maybe we could do it again sometime.
Yeah, I'd love to. Maybe at NAMM this time. We'll make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right, thanks again, Roman. Everybody cheers, like and subscribe and all of that stuff. But I've been Rich, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.